Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Pearsall. I'm the community manager here for the Second Step program, and I am excited to come to you with the latest in our Meet the Makers of the Second Step program series of live streams. Today, we're going to be kicking off a couple that we're going to be, well, I guess we already focused on one last week when we did our live Q&A. Anyway, the topic of the day is social emotional learning for adults, our new program that is launching next week. And we're going to be really digging into it for today and also next week. But before that, I would like to begin with a land acknowledgement. Committee for Children's offices sit on the unceded traditional lands of the Coast Salish people, specifically the first people of Seattle, Washington, the Duwamish tribe. As we honor the Duwamish people and their ancestors, it's also important that we consider our place in the past, present, and future history of the indigenous peoples of our region, as well as how we can best support them. Thank you. And now I am very pleased to introduce to you Sandi Everlove. Sandi is the Director of Instructional Design at Committee for Children. So she's had her hands on a lot of different projects, but she has been super focused on our SEL for Adults program for, how long have you been focused on that program for now, Sandi?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. So and it's launching a week from yesterday. It's coming right up. So super exciting time, hey?
Yes, very exciting. A little busy.
I can imagine. So thank you so much for taking time away from all of the work that you're doing right now to talk a little bit about the program. I think there's a lot of people who are really excited to get a chance to hear about it. Can you tell us, first of all, just a little bit about your role at Committee for Children and in the development of the SEL for Adults program?
Sure. My role as an instructional designer is great because I get to work with all the best people who know what do we need to provide for teachers, what do we need to provide for principals, what do we need to provide for students so that we can really create these very positive school environments. And so that means I get to talk to researchers in the field, I get to talk to educators in the field and find out what do we need to offer you and provide so that we can really support your social and emotional well-being. And then once we do that, once we know what are we going to provide, we have to go find schools where we can see that in action. And we call those our partner schools. And so I get to go work with all of those partner schools, identify teachers, and then we go in and we capture a lot of what they're doing and figure out how can we share that with educators all over the country so that they can benefit. So it's a great job.
It does sound like a great job. You're making me nostalgic. It's something that I used to have a similar role years ago, and
I know.
And you're making me real nostalgic because it's exciting. It's fun. It's really kind of the heart of the work that we do. So I mean, I'd love to talk a little bit about what that looks like, kind of in relation to SEL for adults. And one of the taglines we've got for the program is that it's by educators for educators. And I'd like to talk, whatever you could share with us a little bit. What does that mean? Let's start with by educators. What does it mean for our program to be by educators? What role did they play in the development of this?
Well, first, we wouldn't have the program without them. I mean, I'm a former high school teacher, and our goal was to say, there are people out there doing excellent work. And education is one of the professions where we don't seem to tap into all of that expertise and share it. We kind of tend to be isolated in our schools or in our classrooms. And so what we did is we reached out to some schools that were identified as really focusing on the social and emotional well-being of their adults. And we went and observed, we talked with them, looked at what they were doing, and then they became our actual partners. And that's where it starts with those kind of core schools. I call them my hero schools because they're courageous enough to open their doors and really expose what they're doing to everybody out there, which does take some courage. And then once we create these learning experiences for teachers, a lot of it is built around video because teachers need to see what does that look like in a real school, real classroom, real teachers. Then we put it out there to our pilot or test schools. And that we got probably a few thousand teachers giving us feedback on every single learning experience that went into this program. And we took it to heart. I mean, they were honest with us and candid, and we would go back and rework it if it wasn't working well. And we tried to do more of what they said. That's helpful. And so when you look at this product that's going to come out next week, it is not a product made by our small team. It's a product really that's a collaboration with thousands of teachers now.
That's really cool. Could you talk a little bit more about the schools that you started with, your hero schools? So we actually went out to them to see what they were doing first to kind of inform the program.
Yeah, we talked with a lot of different schools. There are many schools in this country who really are taking to heart that the social and emotional well-being of their adults, if they are not thriving, then the kids aren't going to be thriving. We identified a couple that had really been doing this work long enough that we felt like they could model for others, what does this look like? So you're not seeing people who are in their first year trying this out. So, and we try to make that clear that they've been working at this for a while. And then once we're there and we identified some of the teachers at different grade levels, elementary all the way through high school, we go in and work directly with those schools on a regular basis. And they allowed us in for days and days of filming, and then made themselves available to us to really, particularly after the pandemic, we had to go back to them and say, how are you doing some of these things remotely? And they were willing again to give us their time and energy because they believe so much in what they're doing, and partly because they've all benefited from it. They know what it feels like to work in a school where there is a really supportive and positive environment.
That's neat. I think that I really appreciate that real kind of that give and take partnership, and I really appreciate the give on their part, because that's not nothing that they're doing.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I want to jump off. I want to jump on a tangent just for a second, because you said something that I think will pique the ears of some people. You said high school. How is this connected to high school? Second Step has always been an early learning through 8 program.
Right. Well, one of the things we have to keep saying is this program is for adults. It's to, so adults teach, pre-K through, post-secondary actually, but right now we're focused on kinder through 12th grade. And some of the things that you do in an elementary environment, they just won't work in a high school environment, and vice versa. And so we felt like it was really important that we're able to show what these practices look like at these different age groups and grade levels.
Oh, that's cool. So there'll be differentiation across all the for adults working at the different grade levels?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you might see the research-based practice is the same in terms of what we know it does for, educators or even for students. But you'll see it modeled in an elementary school, and then you'll see, well, what does that look like now in a secondary program? Yeah.
Very cool. That kind of, I guess this isn't quite a tangent, because it leads right into the next thing that I was going to ask, which is we've kind of talked about what it means to be by educators. What does it mean to be for educators? I think everybody who does professional development and creates material like this feels like of course it's for educators. It says so on the box, right? What is special about the SEL for Adults program that really makes it for educators?
I think there's 2 ways that we think about it. One is, I think a lot of the professional learning that we have as educators, it's so that we can teach a program, or that we can, improve our literacy instruction or math instruction. So it's really teaching me something so that I can teach students how to do that. And teachers aren't very good at sometimes saying, well, what about what I need, and is it okay for me to sometimes think about my own needs or the needs of my colleagues? And part of this program is to say, yeah, you are critically important. You're essential, and your well-being is essential. And so we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on you. And then the second way that we think about it for educators is, my job as an instructional designer is to literally be the advocate for the people who have to use this. And so I think about teachers, they're super busy. They've got a million things on their plate. And it's not fair to waste their time on something that's not going to be valuable. And so we really had to think about how will we share these practices with these really busy educators. And we ended up landing on a way that we provide these, it's smaller chunks of learning. It's really focused on practical. So we give some theory because it's all research-based, but we get right into what does this actually look like when it's in practice, and then give them a chance to try it out and adapt as they need to for their particular environment. And so it is really designed for adults around the work that they do every day.
And what kind of, so now you've been through this whole process and you've gotten feedback from all of these educators, and you've integrated in and come back and done those development loops. What kind of feedback are you getting now? What have you heard from educators? We got a chance. I say this because we got a chance last week to hear from a principal who had been a pilot. So we got sort of a window into the administrator's view of the program. But I'm wondering kind of what kind of feedback you've gotten from teachers themselves, teachers and counselors themselves that are using the program.
Sure. I'd say there's kind of two loops of feedback we've gotten. The feedback that they gave us initially, that we took in and then used to make the program even better. And the feedback that we're getting now as we're interviewing a lot of the people who've been using it. And again, they're really candid with us because that's the only way that we're going to improve the program. And I just hear over and over again, I wish I taught at that school. I want to go visit that school. You know, there's even certain teachers that they mention and call out and just say, oh, you know, that would be great. And, you know, one of the things I try to say to them is, you can create that school. You don't have to go visit that school. You can become that school. You know, we all have the ability to change the kind of climate at our schools. And again, that's what the goal of this program is, that we can really focus on the adults and help them support each other on the days that they're down and, you know, really build that capacity together.
I think that's a really empowering statement to make. And I think it's really, I think that's a real testament to the work that you've been doing, that you've been getting that kind of feedback from educators.
But again, they helped us build it.
That's true.
So, you know, I'm happy, but I'm not surprised because again, we benefited from the wisdom of all of these people.
I've got one last question I want to spring on you. I want you to think about, you've been 2.5 years working on this project, and now it's about to be real in a few days. What is one part of the program that just makes you smile? Something that's like your favorite element of it, or just an activity or a video or something like that that's just like your favorite part for no good reason?
Hands down, it's the videos. I watched them, I can't tell you how many times, and they still make me smile. But in particular, there is a video on a research practice called Banking Time. And the teacher is using that routine with a student who struggles to trust adults and also is struggling to have trust with his classmates. And when you watch that practice and that teacher working with that student, it's amazing. It's amazing to see just during the video how he can open up. And then for me later to find out from that teacher and that student how transformational that was. It literally changed his relationship with her and became one of trust, and one where he felt like he did belong in that classroom and he could learn. And so that's what it's all about to me in the end. We can learn about a lot of things. It's what we do in those practices that's going to make all the difference. And that's what we're hoping, that teachers will find enough things in this program that it'll start to change how they relate to their colleagues and how they relate to their students and eventually their community.
It's great. Well, Sandi, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us. I think on behalf of everyone in the Second Step community, it's been a pleasure to hear from you about this new program.
Great. Thanks, Matt. It was fun.
And want to let everybody who's watching out there know that this is not the end of our chance to kind of dive into the SEL for Adults program. Next week, right here, we're going to be wherever you are right now watching this. You'll be able to have the chance to watch another one of our Meet the Makers featuring Rachel Kam. Rachel Kam is the product manager, the leader of the development of the program, and she's gonna give us kind of some background on the origins of this program, how it came to be, and a little behind the scenes look at what it takes to make a program like this. So I encourage you all to check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I mentioned that this is the Second Step educator community. If you're in the community watching this, hello. But if you're not watching it in our community, if you're on Facebook or somewhere else on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, I want to let you know that this exists. We have a community, a community of practice with over 7,000 Second Step educators that are all come together to kind of share their expertise and support each other in this really important work of supporting student social emotional learning. And if you would like to join, you can see the link right there. We're on Facebook, and we would love to see you there. So until next week, thank you all very much, and stay healthy and take care.